Hey guys, welcome back to the pod. I, as per usual, was thinking. At this point, I wonder if I even should anymore, but I will continue to. It's almost like I can't control it, thoughts. But I am currently, today, it's November 1st, I just started my cycle. And it was probably one of the most excruciatingly painful ones I've had in a while. And it kind of got me thinking to what womanhood and what motherhood is like. Although I don't know what motherhood is like yet, I can infer a bit being a woman. I think you can understand having like the maternal instincts and stuff, but of course nothing really beats the real thing of when you have a baby yourself. But I sat here for a while and I was in excruciating pain. Like, this is like bad cramps where I'm crying. It was really bad. It's mellowed out way more now. And pardon if you can hear my heat. Maybe I'll try and shut this door a little bit. It's cold in Michigan. There we go. But I was thinking about, womanhood and all this shit, and I was sitting on the toilet and I was like, when I have kids, I can't do this. When I have kids, I can't sit here and cry and be in agonizing pain because I need to go cook some burger patties for my kids, or I need to go make sure they're not putting something in an outlet. I need to make sure they're not lighting a match. So it just made me think of, I talk a lot about men on here and just my affinity for them, because for so long I was taught basically to hate them, and I just believed that was something that was legitimate to do because the whole feminist movement bullshit got intertwined in my brain. But I thought about what it means to be a woman, and I think that there's a certain sacrifice that one will make as a woman and as a mother, but it doesn't really come to true fruition until you actually have your kids. Because I just sat there and I was thinking, I can't just be, like I said, in this much pain. I have stuff to do. It doesn't matter how I feel. And it's also just about parental sacrifice. It is a pleasure-worthy sacrifice to take care of your children. It's what you're supposed to do here on this planet, if you can and you're willing and you're able. But thinking about womanhood, it made me start to question what kind of woman I want to be. I didn't really have a good example of a woman. And I mean, when I speak and say a woman, I mean a nurturer, a navigator, a supporter. I've talked a lot on here about my mom and me's relationship, and from my point of view, and what I think she may have, or what might have happened in my childhood and all that. But when I think about my mom, I don't necessarily think of the woman that I would want to be. And it's not any one reason. I think there's lots of reasons. And there's also somebody else I've been thinking of who I've known for a little bit now. And from what I see and the things I hear, she's very stuck in her masculine energy, which is so cliche to say, but it really is true. I mean, you can tell definitely when a woman feels comfortable with being feminine and when she doesn't. And I do think that's the natural role for a woman to be in. Whether or not she can live peacefully in that role does have a lot to do with environmental and financial circumstances, of course. But yeah, I look at my mom, for example, and I don't see a woman who got to be a woman. I will say that in her favor. But to really explore what it means to be feminine. My mom was not a kept woman, to put it bluntly, I guess. My mom, like I've mentioned on here, is a single mom. She grew up in a pretty rural area, but she moved to the city when she was older, not like crazy older, like 20s or so. And I think that kind of, I'm completely guessing here, but maybe got the slight bit of liberal ideology within her that kind of did this whole, and even with my grandma too, because like I've talked, I don't know, I'm kind of all over the place, but like with women working, I think in some cases women obviously have to work. That's just what has to happen. But I think in an ideal world that wouldn't necessarily be a thing, right? So my mom worked. She was a single lady working. That new wave of it. I always think about Seinfeld when I think about that. It's like the wave of women working and the first wave of feminism-ishness. You know what I mean? But in the equality and all that. And my mom, I don't think, really got to experience what it's like to have a man take care of you. And I feel like that's something that every woman, I'm not going to say every woman, I think that's something that a lot of women deserve. And especially people like me that didn't have that. I didn't have a father that took care of me. I had no male support or love whatsoever, and that actually has made it hard for me to even accept the male love that I get now from Kyle, and what he can and will and wants to do for me all seem sometimes too good to be true, but also uncomfortable because I didn't ever have that. And I think that was my father really doing me a true disservice there, but I digress. But yeah, and I guess try and make a long story short, I didn't have a prime example of what it meant to be a woman. It's not about like, oh, do you know manners, and are you proper, or do you talk like a lady, or that's not very ladylike, you know. I even remember saying ladylike's not a thing, you know, but it is, and it's not something that should be frowned upon, you know. Again, the feminist movement's definitely done that, but yeah, I didn't have that, and I think a lot of people didn't, especially people that had single mother homes. You end up being more masculine as a female, you know. I ended up developing a bitterness, a bite, ferociousness, I guess, that lean more on the masculine side, because when you don't have a father there to coach you, to love you, to support you, to show you how much you matter, and to explain to you how a man should treat you through his actions, through your mother, it really fucks with you. So now, like I mentioned, I'm asking myself, what kind of woman do I want to be? Because there's all this shit out there, right? There's the whole trad wife thing. There's the feminist movement. There's the liberals that are nuts. There's the fucking, you know, Republican Christian women that fish and hunt and do all this shit, you know. It's all over, because there's no one way to be a woman at all. The one way that you have to be a woman, though, is to have a vagina and be born a woman. That's that's how you're a woman. There's no men that are women, you know. So let me throw that one out there, because this is bullshit. This whole thing that's going on is just insane. Fucking ugh. But I am sitting here, I'm wondering, it's like, with this cycle I'm on, it's been very mentally draining, but now I'm starting, like, I look at it very spiritually when it comes to my cycle, and it's like I went through this week of just sleep but no sleep. I'm exhausted, I'm starving, I'm upset, I'm crying, I'm happy, I'm goofy, I'm all these different things because my hormones are all over the place. And then I get to where I am now, you know, day one of that cycle that blows, and it's like, oh, I'm getting a little bit more clarity, you know, and thinking about the woman that I want to be. Of course, I'm not going to fit in any one box, because everybody in general doesn't fit in one box, you know. And of course, I think we're a lot more alike than we like to think that we are. For some reason, it's like cool to be divided, which I don't get. I think it's like cool to be like your own complete different type of thing, when really it's just, I think we work better when we fit like Legos a little bit. Like, we can be all different colors of Legos, but like, to come together as a community and have specific-ish roles and, you know, men, women, get rid of the shit in between, right? But I don't know. I sit here and I wonder that because I'm on my own adventure right now of becoming a woman. I look at these videos of women my age, women that are a little bit older than me that have kids, women that are going through, you know, perimenopause or menopause. And there's this chick, Wendy Outdoors, I think, on YouTube, and she's an older lady and she goes camping by herself. She goes kayaking by herself. And I look at women that are older like that, even my own grandmother, and I see myself in them, if that makes sense. Because I know that at one time they were boy crazy, or they were trying to figure out what works best for their period, or like they were running up to the store to get chocolate because they were going to get their cycle, or because all these womany things, right? They felt fat in this dress and they hated it, you know? Like they had all those things. They worried if this guy liked them. They got the little butterfly belly when they were thinking about someone that they liked, you know? They went through the Miss Popular bullshit with high school and middle school and all this stuff. They did that. I'm still somewhat living it, not too much, not really the high school shit anymore. Although all social media is, I feel like it's some sort of popularity contest. But they all went through that, but they're on the other side now. And I bet a lot of them, like myself, or even right now, are wishing that they didn't worry about some of the things that they did. And that's anybody. It's not just being a woman, but I'm just talking about womanhood right now. But like, how crazy is it? Like, I see this woman, this Wendy chick outside, and she's like so content with herself. And it's cool. And I feel like for some reason, there's a lot of reasons, the whole no dad thing, crazy mom, this shit, I'm the only black kid in my whole family, and all these things that kind of make me feel like an outcast. But there's so much that brings it together when we're just talking about being a woman. And I don't know, it just, how the fuck did she get so content with herself? But then I look at her and she's like 70 something. So it's like, oh, you had a lifetime to like figure out what the fuck works for you and what doesn't, you know? And I'm doing that right now. And I only wish that I could give myself more grace and more kindness during that process, because being a woman is... Sorry, my cat's like licking himself right here. So if you've been hearing that the past couple minutes, I apologize. But I think he's done now. He's about to curl up. And no, he's going to bathe his brother. No, I'm just being... I don't really remember what I was saying. Fuck, the cat distracted me. Grace. Give myself grace. Yeah, I get so strung up with shit about myself. I overthink so much. I'm thinking continuously all day long about, am I doing the right thing? Am I eating the right thing? Am I saying the right thing? Did my podcast make sense? Did that match with the other shit I've said? But it's like, actually, that's the best example, is like, there's podcasts on my channel that like I think sounds stupid, and I've changed everything that I was so passionate about in that conversation. But what is happening is, even if I'm not as consistent as maybe I'd like to be with my podcast, because I just really don't have much to say. I don't do a lot, so I don't want to just be speaking about the same bullshit all the time. But, oh, kitties. But I'm documenting this journey of me figuring out who I am. And I guess it feels extra special to me because, duh, I'm me. But guys, you gotta lick his ear right here. I can back up a little bit. See if I can get a buffer zone here. Oh, you invite him in to lay on the bed, and this is the shit that they do. But yeah, I'm documenting this, and I find it, and I think everybody's documenting their life because everybody has phones, you know, but, yeah, I change so rapidly and so fluidly. And that was something I talked to Kyle about. It's like, women are very fluid, although we get trapped, I think, within our emotions sometimes and in our head and stuff. We're very fluid. And especially if you look at like true feminine women, they move even like they have just fluid going through them. And this whole experience of me just figuring out who I am after I've left my family, which it's funny, sometimes I think it's like if they ever listen to this, they'd be like, why is she like demonizing us? And it's not that. It's just, it just doesn't match at all for me anymore. And I think there was a lot of mistakes that were made, and there was not at all enough accountability. And there also wasn't enough support. So coming from also, like I've mentioned on here that it's, you know what, I just need to keep saying it because it's, yeah, like I've talked on here about that my mom molested me in the whole tickling sex thing. And it's what bothers me about that, which this turned dark very quickly, but is that I've told Kyle this before because I've thought about, like, very often trying to have some sort of relationship with my mother, but she wouldn't view it that way. She wouldn't view it that way. And there'd be things that I view a certain way that I'd like to talk to her about, but I wouldn't be able to get any sort of accountability or closure for. So that's why I'm like usually hesitant to talk about it and shit, but I'm trying not to be because I don't want it to have any power over me anymore. But coming from that, from that type of situation and a narcissistic mother and having no father and doing all these things in my teenage years and the whole pandemic and high school and all of this and trying to navigate this, it was all by myself. Like of course, I always thought I could talk to my mom about shit, and I did, but like going kind of back to the womanhood thing, she didn't provide a good solution to some of my problems. And I'm not saying, but that is kind of what a mom is. She's a problem solver, a navigator. And even if that means it's tough love in a certain circumstance, or, you know, if I'm getting bullied by somebody at school, or it's like, talk about my confidence and, you know what I mean? Whatever. Just like there weren't necessarily always the best talks that left me feeling better about myself or situations. And then to also not ever feel a father's love whatsoever, and then go into high school and see all these boys and all this shit. And then I get out of high school during pandemic and I don't get a graduation. So it's like all the milestones that you're supposed to be getting, I didn't get. There was no prom. There was no graduation. It was just nothing. And then there's this whole global thing going on. And then being so indoctrinated in a liberal ideology because of where I lived and where I went to school, it's just odd. And then, you know, I think about the shit that I've come across in my life and in my small life so far. And it's just fucking wild. Like, there's a lot of chicks out there that have like crazy stories, but I feel like I'm probably one of the craziest. Like, I was thinking the other day how I'm very quiet these days and I'm semi-introverted, and I go to the gym and everybody makes assumptions about people, right? Like, all the time. And I just think it's funny that people might make certain assumptions about me, or I might make them about them. It's like, you have this dude could have just like jumped out of a plane 2 days ago just for fun. I have no idea. Everybody has like these little secrets. And it's like, yeah, I'm over here. Like, I dated a fentanyl addict for a couple weeks and I didn't know, but I kind of knew. It was a whole weird fucking thing. One of my best friends actually to this day, I mean, we're a little bit distant now because we got different shit going on in our life, is a 45-year-old man. So like, and just fucking smoking weed together and shit. And when I'm working at this liquor store, and I work at this liquor store, and it was a riot, man, like a fucking party, and just cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, all the people I met there, the time I dated some dude and his family was insane and on drugs, and they fucking fist fought in front of these kids, and then just everything. Like, it's crazy. And then my mom and her alcoholism and trying to make sure she's good. And then I dated a drug dealer who cheated on me and who I was infatuated with. And then I moved to Florida with this dude who I'm still with for 3 years. And it's like, And there's so much more in there. There's so many nights that were just bizarre as fuck. There's so many days that felt like the Truman Show or Bizarro World. And then now I'm here and I'm having this, I have the pleasure and ability to have time to reflect. And like I've said, like, I guess maybe this will be the title of the video, is like, what kind of woman do I want to be? It's like everything I've been through, everything I've seen, everything I've learned and accomplished, I wish I gave myself more credit for, because I did it. You know, I'm more alone, and I was more alone than I choose to believe. I don't know why. Maybe because I don't want to think it was that sad or whatever, but I don't know. What kind of woman do I want to be? And I know I want to be a nurturer, and I need a lot of work with that. I know I want to be confident. I want to be feminine, but how feminine? Because what is being feminine? So it's like all these, I guess, existential, like, fucking questions that I have for myself, because it's not that I'm necessarily confused. I would say I'm mildly lost, but confident in my way out. And this is maybe the fun part. Maybe I need to look at it more like that, but sometimes it does become worrisome, because I also don't fall within society's guidelines in a lot of different areas. So, and no matter how much you don't want that to affect you, it still does. Like, it just does, because this is the world that we live in, you know. But working against that, going against the grain, being a salmon, you know, it's like, it's different. So it provides this different experience that I don't think a lot of people could even help me with, because I often want to talk to other women, you know, but they don't see things my way, you know. And it's not about politics at all. It's not about, boys or whatever. It's more so like women not understanding and men not understanding, anybody, that the system's broken, you know, like the system doesn't work. And then I don't know, like, I talked to Kyle on the phone today at lunch, and it's just the generations before us did not provide any type of generational wealth, and then blame everybody for it. And I'm not saying, there's people that are in my generation and of the millennial generation that work like shit. They're assholes and they don't deserve handouts. Nobody deserves handouts. But like, we just didn't get anything in our favor. You know what I mean? Like, just nothing. There was no opportunity. The money does not translate anymore to what it used to. Like, it just doesn't. It just fucking doesn't. It doesn't. It's crazy, you know, and I could go on and on about that, but I don't know, just to not be provided with any of this, to live in this world, to, you know, I mentioned this chick that was very stuck in her masculine, right? She also, I guess, another topic of like womanhood. I think that the world has become extremely gluttonous, and I don't mean with diabetic bullshit. I mean gluttonous with instant gratification. And I believe that one of those instant gratification feelings, and one of those things that has become gluttonous, is children. And it sounds weird, but let me explain. I myself have thought about how I wanted to give birth to children, who I trust, who I believe could take care of me, and I now know that that is not a doctor. I'm not saying there ain't. I'm talking like broken bones, let me go to the doctor. You know what I mean? Fucking car accident, I should probably go to hospital. You know what I mean? Like, there's things, obviously, that, you know, the medical field is very prosperous in, and it's great, yay. But for general health, no. They don't know anything. They don't know shit. The amount of bad advice I've been given by doctors, the last doctor's appointment I had was insane. I ended up becoming like his therapist, which was crazy. Bizarre as fuck. So they don't do anything for you. And we've gotten used to this principle of, I'm going to go to the doctor for every single thing, every little thing. Very sterile. And even the whole pregnancy thing, everybody has IVF, you know, so everybody's tracking along the way, like from the very beginning of just conception, right? And the reason, by the way, we have all this IVF is like, sure, there's definitely people out there that can't properly conceive or whatever. But also there's a whole bunch of bullshit in the food and in the water that's making everybody infertile. So now they can capitalize on paying for that. And also everybody's been told to get on birth control. So, because everybody's saying that we should have sex at 15, 16, 17 and don't worry about it because you don't have to have kids. Which, of course, I think that birth control can be helpful for people. Don't get me wrong. I think you should get on birth control if you plan to have a whole bunch of sex and you don't have kids, obviously. But I do think that there's also a dark side to birth control as well. But with the gluttony thing, we've started at the process of conception, basically with the whole IVF thing, just being documented the whole entire way and every single doctor's appointment, all these tests and all these scans and all this and that. It's like no other species really does that. I understand there can be complications, and for some people, they do need that. But, people just used to give birth at home. And that pain that a woman felt, of course, was pain. But I ask, because I heard this in a video, and I just found it so just catching. It made me think differently. And plus, to me, it kind of struck as like logical. And I'll paraphrase here in my own words how I took it. But beauty is pain. Gym is pain. But there's an outcome that you want. There's a desire that you seek after that pain. And the thing that women are able to do, having a fucking baby, is absolutely breathtaking and beautiful. Yes, women, biological women, give birth to kids. That's it. Those are the only people that give birth to kids. But it's a gorgeous thing, and the fact that it's just now, I'm gonna plan a C-section, and then I'm gonna go get this baby cut out, and I have a baby. I'm gonna be numbed up. I'm gonna get an epidural. Which everybody has their own choice. I'm not judging anybody at all. I'm more so just questioning the system that's supposed to be looking out for us. Plus, this country has like the highest like death rate with birth, like with women and children. It's baffling to me. I feel like a lot of times people are safer at home with their own gut, but we've also been told not to trust our gut with so many different things. It's a whole other topic. And then these people, it's like, I'm not saying that by having a C-section, that's not hard and you didn't give birth. Absolutely you did, 100%. You just got your shit cut open. That's horrible. And you rocked your world, I'm sure. But, I just see it as such a sterile and unspiritual way to bring a being into this world. And it's already so sterile and so calculated and technological that if you could have an experience that was more meaningful and more grand, why wouldn't you? And I feel like people are scared of pain. So I guess that kind of comes full circle with like the period I started this morning where I was just feeling this pain and I cried and I was like, fuck, like this is horrible. But I also knew to just let it happen. And I didn't take anything. I didn't take Tylenol. I used what the fuck am I trying to say? I used a heating pad and then I used a red light therapy on my lower abdomen. I lay down. I still marinated these flank steaks I needed. I swept for a second because there was some kitty litter on the floor. I took a shower and I even got on all fours and let the hot water hit my back because it was just hurting so fucking bad because I had really bad low back pain. And I pushed through it and I kept going because I said to myself, I'm going to want to have kids. And I think that everybody in this world, not everybody, but I'd say a large majority of people, I need to stop speaking in absolutes. I don't like that I do that. But the majority of people in this world are victims and they play a victim and they like victimhood and they want to have a victim mentality even if they don't know it. And I don't want to be a victim anymore. I am in certain regards, and I respect that about myself, and I give myself grace when I need it. But I also know that the one thing I do know, the one thing I know and can put on the list of what kind of woman do I want to be, I want to be unfuckwithable. I want to be a tolerator of great pain. I want to be a tolerator of immense suffering. And I want to be a fighter against it as well. And I want to be as much of a warrior as I can possibly be, because I think that that is what the world is calling for now. I think that's what is calling me. Because at this point, I don't really think that there's very much else that something or somebody could throw my way that would truly shock me. I mean, I already have a boyfriend's mom who has told him that she got a lawyer because I'm a half black woman, because I talked some shit when I got home from my waitressing job and we were smoking together, which is odd in general. Not the smoking, but the fact that, like, did all this shit for this bitch and she still got this shit to say. But go watch that episode. Go listen to that episode if you want to hear more. But I also have, a boyfriend's father who has not tried to take me in as family at all. Like, there's been cool moments, don't get me wrong, like, for sure, absolutely. They helped us move down to Florida, which was very generous. I was very confused as to why they wanted to do that, but I was very grateful. And then all other members of his family that just are completely incapable of accepting people that are different. And that's my family too, not just his, but I have that. I have the trauma of sexual abuse. I have the abandonment of my father. That's a huge issue for me. I have, I lived my life as somebody, and I walked away from that slowly, gradually, and then it blew up in my face and I left permanently, pretty much. And I don't, like, that's something that I think, like, family, even in high school, like, people were still, they were always touchy about family, I think, in my experience. Like, you were always, and that's, in a way, that's good. It's like, protect your family, right? Protect your peace. But I think we also hid too much, and we should have talked more about what was going on in people's homes. I have history of, being cheated on, being lied to, being, sneaking around, my own, the lies that my mother would tell, something I talked about with my therapist, one of them, was when you lose the trust within your parent, when you see the hypocrisy for the first time. I feel like a lot of times it's, Santa, they lied to you about Santa, so you're like, what else do you fucking lie about, right? But when it's something deeper, like when your parents breaking laws and it's wrong, but you have to side with them, I feel like that really breaks something within you. And I feel like when something's just morally wrong in your family, when you see hypocrisy even too, when you sense just like jealousy, like the jealousy between me and my mother and shit, it feels so wrong because it shouldn't be that way. Even though it's a different world now, there's still, if you're a mom, you're supposed to nurture. And then when like I think I've mentioned on here before, but when your mom is your biggest bully, like your first bully, I don't really think that someone recovers from that. I think that's why I also feel very comfortable around men, not women. I think also they have daddy issue shit too, but yeah, I don't know. I think it doesn't set one up for knowing what kind of woman she'd like to be. There's nobody that I can say that I want to mimic. There's nobody that I look up to. And I think not having that really fucks with you. And that goes the same exact thing for if you grew up without a dad and you're a boy. Same thing with obviously a woman, but it's different, You don't see that version of a man that you should be. Or that you could look up to, or that you don't want to be, right? Like even that, it's like, oh, I definitely going to change this, but I do admire this about my dad, So I don't know. It makes me sad. It doesn't wear on me as much as it used to, because I guess I just don't have any more tolerance for it. It also like diminished my tolerance for like idiocracy. Like, is that the right word? Like just stupid fucking people. Like it just, I have no tolerance for it anymore. I just don't, because I can admit like to holistic type stuff, to therapy, to trauma. I was ignorant to all of that. But I sat here and I chose to learn it. So if you're going to sit over there and be an ignorant bitch and complain about your life and do nothing about it, I can't be here for that. I'm over it. So I don't know. This is all like kind of weird and very vague, I feel like, in a certain way. But I just consistently am starting to wonder, what kind of woman do I want to be? And it's, like I said, very difficult when you don't have a template, I guess, or somebody to look up to. And I also just don't want to fuck up my kids. I don't want to fuck up my life anymore either, I just don't want to fuck up my kids. And I mean, I don't think I'm going to. I think maybe everybody does a little bit, but I think that varies a lot. But yeah, I don't know. I wish that people were more united and together so that people could talk about things like this and we could create a generation that truly cares about nurturing and protecting each other, But it doesn't look like it's going to be that way. Maybe in certain areas, obviously, but not the whole country as a whole, because I don't feel like it's possible. But maybe in a certain realm, it's okay that it's not possible. I don't know. I guess I got very philosophical on this one, but yeah, what kind of woman do I want to be? I guess it's definitely strictly only for me to figure out, and maybe for you guys to watch as I become her. So, yeah, this was a fun ep. Got my kitties laying in bed with me, and I'm just chit-chatting amongst my squishmallows. So, I hope that you guys have a great rest of your morning, your afternoon, or your night, wherever you are, and you stay safe and blessed. Goodbye.